Welcome, Andrew Holden, my Nut Zach Ertz. It's great to have you
Let's
on
go.
the show today.
The team name's worth it just to hear you have to read it like that.
I mean, when did you actually come up with that name? Because you've been running that name for a handful of years. I'm not even sure if it's been the whole time in the league, but has it been the whole time in our league?
I mean, other than Team Holden, yeah. It's honest to be honest, I forget. I should change it. I've been meaning to update at the time when we started the league. The LA Rams weren't a thing yet, so
Mm-hmm.
they're still in St. Louis. So as people in our league now, I made an oath like I will my football team will be the first team back in LA. Um so yeah, at the time I didn't have a team. That was like a funny name that was out at the time. My Nut Zach Ertz. So I'm like, oh okay. So I've been meaning to update it. I just forget. How lame he didn't mention who the board members are, or at least give us a hint.
What do you mean the board members more than him, myself, and I?
It's probably who it is. I don't know. I think like
There's no board, dude. It's just him.
it's just
You
it. You
think
think
there's
so?
more than just him? Oh yeah, no, it's just him.
Yeah. It's
Who would they be?
like
The
his
BCS
brothers.
computer he pulled out of the trash can?
No, there was a reason why I thought like, oh my gosh, like maybe someone does talk to him. That like his brother Zach, maybe like his brother Zach's in like bigger leagues that we have, like our 12-man league.
Oh, I mean, maybe I could complete. I totally think it's just
Yeah,
him. Andrew believes that the board is
it's
larger than the commissioner, which I think the current running sentiment in the league is probably the assumption that the questionable board that we get our rankings from, that has yet to be seen, is the brainchild of the commissioner. But
yeah.
Andrew feels like that's an incorrect assumption. So
I mean, gosh, putting me on the spot like I'm gullible. I'm just saying, like, if my brother were more into fantasy football, like he and I would totally do that. Like, hey, here's the result. Look, it's only 8 teams. What do you think about these teams? I mean, now I say it out loud. Maybe you're completely right. I'm just saying, like if anyone else in our league had a different league, and we consulted each other, like we'd do it, right?
I
I
I don't disagree with that thought. I never thought about it. My whole assumption about this secretive board was what I brought up in last week's show with the actual commissioner.
Mhm.
That it is just him doing it. So it's a fresh take that we have by my Nut Zach Ertz. So the one big question we're going to answer today is, for Dynasty Football, why would you fire sell a team? Now, you just went through this experience literally last week. So for those who are considering it right now, because we're about almost mid-season of the fantasy football kind of season, and for dynasty players, sometimes you get your teams in a position where you sustain injuries that year and you don't really feel like you have a top shot. And our league is small, so any league that's like ours was an eight man, the really teams from rank from 7 and up, I still have a pretty good shot getting on our playoffs. But sometimes that last place team or even the 7th place team in our league, they might have sustained too many injuries and they feel like they need to just shoot for next year. So the goal of this video is to answer that question. Dynasty football, when and why should you fire sell your team?
Great question. I think a lot of it has to do with something special in our league, which is we've two of the guys have won, I think, 6 of the last championships, right?
Yes, they
So we
have.
we have implemented a rule where if one of them were to win again, then there's a hard reset. We just do a draft all over for our teams, and even if neither of those two win, we as a league could still vote on it. And remind me if I'm wrong. I think we did vote on resetting it this year, but I think it was barely a majority of us, maybe 5 versus 3, picked to keep it one more year at least. So that was in the background of my mind of, it's this year or never. Um, and gosh, like I've been on the part of our league, bottom half of our league before. I have had successful teams before. I think Spencer talked about, like, when it comes to regular season. I Oh man, there's a year that I think I was 4 games ahead of second place, but then lost in the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. So, anyways, I had to have a good team. Injuries, of course, were a thing. Dak Prescott is one of my quarterbacks. Justin Herbert, although he didn't sit any games, I mean, we all know he got, hit in the ribs pretty hard. So
Yeah.
he's playing through an injury. My top 3 running backs: Cordarrelle Patterson, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, all sat or like been injured. And then even with like me contemplating it, so I've been talking to Brooksby like all year about Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just been like, he'll hit me up again, like, hey, you want to do a trade for him? I kind of like, oh, maybe another week, or I've been on the fence. It's kind of hard to find something that would replace him. But then finally, when I was like, I can't remember if I was texting our league or someone. I was just like so fed up because another injury came up, and I was just like, oh, for crying out loud, like, hey guys, I might do a fire sale. Let me know if you're interested. And I was joking at the time.
So was it that Hollywood Brown injury that just kind of tipped the bridge for you?
Probably
Gotcha.
because, yeah, I was, because I jokingly was telling you guys like, oh, I'm just gonna fire sell this team. And then, like, so my talks with Brooksby was starting to heat up again. Like, okay, let's trade Hollywood Brown. And it wasn't even a fire sale; it was just like a couple trades. And then, boom, he's injured. And it really just felt like day to day I was dropping, like a new guy on my team was injured, and I just like, oh my gosh, like Mark Andrews is, I swear, will be injured the next day. Like, I gotta start trading this team
He
away. It was
pretty
just
much
like,
was because I picked him up off of you and he's been injured
uh,
his last game. So let's define what a fire sale is. So a fire sale is selling off your top tier assets on your fantasy football team. So your number one running back, your number two running back, top tier tight end if you have, Kelsey right now or Mark Andrews, and top wide receivers. And the purpose is to get top draft picks in upcoming years. So that's one reason why you would fire sell your team and you collect these draft picks. And we're going to kind of dive into what Andrew has collected and how that projects for him and his future team really quick. So,
mhm.
Andrew, we were talking about this, in the pre-show a little bit. So I've got on my notes that you've collected 6 firsts, 6 seconds, and a third over the next 2 years. Now I know there is a pick that it's a third year from now, but that is massive in our league, especially because if we look at the actual year, so this is 2022, so the next first round picks that will happen will be 2023 season, and you have 4 firsts, which means our league is 8 man, so you just took half of the league's picks and you could collect them all. And the following year, 2024, you also have 4 firsts. So how do you
Yes.
feel? How do you feel about that and claiming those picks compared to selling Mark Andrews, selling AJ Brown, and these other top tier fantasy football players that you've sold on the fire sale?
Hmm. Um, and so another thing about our league, I was in constant communication with our commissioner. Like, can I do this? Like, I was making sure I wasn't like breaking any rules. Obviously, like, I'm probably gonna piss people off in the process. But like, the cool thing about our league, it like year to year, there's always, hey, we didn't like this, and then we can implement new rules or whatever. But yeah, I double, triple, quadruple. I bugged Spencer a lot on some rules. Didn't look like I was going to break any. And so the way our league's set up is we do the rookie draft first, and then we do like a normal draft. Um, so I am open to trading those later on with people in trades. I don't know what that will look like now. Obviously, it's
Your first round picks, that's what you're saying you're looking to potentially later to be open to trade those picks, or is that what you're
yeah,
saying? Or okay,
like in the spring when we start to, after the NFL draft, you see landing spots
gotcha.
for some of these guys. Um, Again, I don't. It's hard. I don't know what that looks like. If it's maybe we do both drafts first and then we can talk trades or whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Um, yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of step into a couple of these questions really quick.
Okay.
So before you made this decision to fire sell, what was your current strategy going into the season?
I felt pretty good. I mentioned that I've had bad years, and man, I was over. I felt like I've done some good transactions. So I had Justin Herbert that I once upon a time picked up on waivers. When he was like a rookie, he was kind of struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've made good trades. So I actually got Mark Andrews from Dallin from one trade. I got DeAndre Swift from another trade. So I was like feeling pretty good. Like, hey, this is the year. I got some good pieces. And then, like Hollywood Brown was traded to Arizona. AJ Brown was traded to Philadelphia. And I was like, I have a good, you know, I'm not like a perennial guy. Trevor Down and Spencer, they're the like perennial top teams in our league, I'd say. But I
Yeah.
thought like, oh, I could go toe to toe with some of these guys. But then the injuries are starting to happen. So
So the injuries started stacking up, and that's what really got you in the mentality of, let's move some assets and try to gain more for the future.
mhm. I think a lot of it has to do with like there's that curiosity itch, I guess you could say, where uh, like a new challenge, like oh, I want it to be like I still plan on trying in our league. Obviously, like I don't want to be like full on like tank or anything, but
Yeah.
like I've been interested, like how many wins can I get if I just pick up scraps on the waiver wire? Can I upset people? So that's been kind of a fun new like angle on my
So you
season this year, my
so you find it to
2022.
be important to stay competitive
I think it's
as
just
much as
fun.
you
It's
can.
a new challenge, right? Like I think that'll be cool to see if I could pull off any upsets. So yeah, it's not like I'm gonna delete the app until next year or anything like that. So
Yeah.
also
And go
also
ahead.
like some of us are like addicted to rookie drafting and stuff like that. So I thought that would be kind of fun to see what that would look like. And it's a big unknown right now, so we'll see how that goes.
When you decide to fire sell your team, did you have any concerns?
Uh to be honest, like there's a part of me that was like, I don't want to be like an a-hole and just like pit people against each other in like a blind auction. Like, oh yeah, two firsts. This guy's giving me three firsts, and so I was trying to just like, I asked all seven people in our league, who are you interested in? Everyone told me who they're interested in. I was trying to let okay, I'll get this guy, this and that. Obviously, there were some players like you and Brooksby were like very aggressive on who you wanted. And so, so it's like, okay, well, these guys are showing more interest, trying to auction it. And again, I didn't want to do that. Uh, I don't know. As dumb as it sounds, I didn't want to like offend anyone. I don't know if I did. I mean, I know Garrett and I've had to talk about this a little bit. I was just like I just wanted like, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. Like, so Trevor, for example, like he wanted Tony Pollard, and he was okay with getting like Robert Tanyan, and so it's like, cool, great, like, I wanted to give people like the pieces they wanted if they were willing, and there's some people that like, they didn't want like, no, I'm going to hold on to my picks, which I'm not offended at all. I totally understand. That's great. So yeah, I would say there's a good mixture in our league of people that it's like, yes, I want to take Dallin and Spencer down, Maybe I don't want to quite give up those picks, which again, that's great. Everyone's got different strategies. Other people like you and Brooksby were like, I'm all in right now. So yeah. Anyways,
Gotcha. Well, I mean, everybody has their own strategy, and the way you did it, I think you did the best with the situation that how you wanted to handle it. And obviously, I don't have any complaints about it because I ended up with the guys I really wanted, but also I paid for that. So, if somebody else was going to offer you 3 firsts for those guys, then they could have. So, moving on, what do you love about fantasy football?
um, I really love that. Like, I mean, how long? When did we start? Like 8 years ago. I love that. Like our group of college friends were still in touch. Um, I'm 34, married, 2 kids. Like, I don't, I don't, I don't have a social life much anymore. As Garrett and I were joking earlier that I was a loser. May or may not be in this episode. We'll see. But yeah, so it's nice. It's a nice way to still stay in touch. So Garrett and I went to the same high school. We also have we had it like a tight knit group of high school friends. Maybe not so much anymore, but maybe a fantasy league for those guys would help. I don't know, but like
I
it's
think
just
you're
been a
right.
good. I think it's just a good excuse to stay in touch with old friends. So I love that. I love like texting about trades. It's like during the summertime when there's no football, it could be a drag, but like when I get that itch and I start texting someone or a couple people about trades, that kind of gets me through those summer months. So that's always exciting. Again, like Spencer talked a lot about the last episode. It's just fun to talk football.
Yeah.
So that's just I love that. Like, let's just talk about football. I mean, us guys, we don't talk about feelings. We talk about football.
A very accurate statement from my Nut Zach Ertz.
Yeah, you're welcome. I guess.
No, I totally agree. And I think I mentioned this a little bit in the last episode that it's pretty cool because if we didn't have this league with our college buddies, it'd probably be a little closer to how we have our other friends. We still kind of hear them, text them here and there. But when you have this league, you're able to stay in touch, especially through the NFL season, even the off season when we start talking trades. I like trade talks because I just like making deals happen. I think
Mhm.
that's exciting. That's probably if I can make more trades happen and deals happen and not be on the negative side, because really when you make a trade, it's really a 50-50 to what is actually going to happen when you thought about that trade. I traded you Mike Williams for Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton has been rough right now, and Mike Williams just got injured, and he has a high ankle sprain. High ankle sprains hang; they stay around for way too long. So, maybe that doesn't happen in life where I end up on the better side of that trade, which great for my team. But or maybe Cortland Sutton just completely blows up, and I was expecting him to not play as well as Mike Williams, and Mike Williams complete tanks, and you end up better on that trade. So I just think it's
Mhm.
cool to get trades done. That's one reason I like trading, and I would do a lot more of it if there was a way to like secure, the deal the best way for both teams because I just like getting those deals done.
That's interesting. I forgot that you gave me Cortland Sutton. It was those like you start with the paperclip and you trade and trade and trade until you end up with
Hmm.
like a Ferrari.
Yeah,
Like I got Mike Williams. There's a draft. I got him like fifth round, like my last pick of the draft. And then immediately, should I reveal who owns him or
no, go
no?
ahead. Yeah, you can do what you want.
No, I won't. Yeah. So the previous owner, he dropped him, and like he texted me immediately, like, "Dude, why did you pick up Mike Williams? He's so inconsistent on my team last year." So, anyways, that year he went off, and then I was able, like you said, traded him for Cortland Sutton, and eventually I traded him with Pollard and Tanya to Trevor for a first and a third. So
Yeah,
that's
and
been that's been pretty
that's a good
cool.
trade. Yeah, I
So
would definitely
that's
say you upgraded to that Ferrari with your trade picks. Okay, Andrew, we are going forward into our coming week matchup. So first off, we've got Ron Burgundy and Catching Fire. So my team and Matt's. Now, if I'm being honest, Matt's team is projected way too close to my team, but it looks like the guys that he needs to rely on are starting to actually play some really good football. Derrick Henry has a little bit up and down this season, but he is a stud running back. Tua is coming back off his um, concussion protocols, and if he can really step back to what he was doing, he's going to kill it. And then Dameon Pierce, the rookie out of Houston, is fully secured that backfield and can easily looks like he could put up those 15 points, if not a little bit higher. So, Matt's team has 2-5 on this year's fantasy football playoffs, but his team is scary good. I still feel like if my team comes through because I have Burrow, Tom Brady needs to freaking throw the ball and I think he needs to get his head right. I think something's crazy on with the Bucks, but if he can and he's the GOAT, which he totally can, I think he put up some decent quarterback points. I've got Mixon and I've got Diggs and Cook still on my team. So my team, when they're playing well, they can score heavy. But if I get one of those or two of those guys that miss, I'm going to lose this week against Ron Burgundy. So, kind of, what's your thoughts on my matchup?
yeah, this is definitely a matchup. I would not rely on the records. 2-5, like obviously we could see Matt's team's better than that. Also, a big shout out. He has Dak Prescott now from my team. So I
That's
mean,
true.
he didn't have Dak for the other previous game, so his team is definitely much better. This is a toss up. Is Joe Burrow, is he going to go off again like he did last week?
Oh, I'm crossing my fingers. So, I'm going to take my team. I still think I have the edge on him because I picked up AJ Brown and he's going to be playing this week. I also have, Diggs. Buffalo, the Bills are playing this week. And Mark Andrews, I've got, if he can't pull it together this week and he still has some injury concerns, I've got Kittle to step in for Mark Andrews. So I have a really solid lineup to go against him. I think I'm going to beat him this week. But last week I got smoked by Rustlin. So I think he's got a good matchup. I think it really is a 50-50 toss up for us, but I'm taking my team.
Okay. Do I have to make a pick?
Of course.
Hmm. Yeah, I might go with Catching Fire, but it's gonna be close. It might like be one of those like comes down to Monday night type of games.
Good call. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that one. Moving on. Stage 5 Queensberry. So Spencer Brooksby and going against the other Spencer Ben Dixon, good old commissioner. So looking at this matchup, it's leaning more to Dirty Mike of the boys. And I can see that. Josh Allen, like again I said, Bills are back. So Allen is a top tier talent, can put up 23 points, not even concerned about that. And Kamara, who's been back and has been putting points up, which is good. He's a little weak on his second quarterback with Daniel Jones, but the New York Giants are starting to look like they're trending up. They have a great record right now in the NFL. And if they can keep their winning going, they can be a team to be kind of concerning for the playoffs. With Kingsbury, now he did pick up some picks from you in the fire sale, so his team's better than what it was. But right now, his projected total is 109, which is low for our league. It should be closer to 115 to 120, be more average. And he's got to change his lineup because he's got his top leaders right now on his team is 3 quarterbacks, Brissett, Goff, and Carr. So I'm guessing his current lineup isn't completely accurate because his team needs to, obviously has some other players. But if these are the top tier assets he has on his team scoring the most, he probably needs to make a couple more trades to be really competitive in our league this season. So I'm going to lean with Dirty Mike and the boys. I have played them. I did beat them, but They have always been a tough team, and they've won multiple championships. Never easily to be trifled with. Trifled with. Kind of what's your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, so I was looking at the matchup before this meeting, and yeah, so Spencer Dixon, he's got a stacked team, and with Josh Allen leading the way. Yeah, I I would watch out. He's going to go deep in the playoffs. So I think I'll give this the Dirty Mike and the boys. They got a stacked team, and I mean I wouldn't want to match up with them in the playoffs. Scary team.
Awesome. So first two matchups, we haven't really had a difference of opinion. Going to our third one for this week. So we got Ryan with Every Day I'm Wrestling and Dallin, one from one from me, one from Mahomes. I'm gonna let you take this one first, and then I'll give my opinion on this week. I
Yeah,
think.
no,
Go ahead.
I'm happy to go first. I'm going to give it to wrestling, and for one reason only, and I think we all know it's because the Kansas City Chiefs are on a bye. So yeah, if every day I'm wrestling can't pull it off, then heck, just give Dallin the trophy again. You know what I mean? Like if Dallin could win against the top team with the Chiefs out, then it's game over.
You're very right. And honestly, I do kind of lean to that argument, but I'm going to take one from Mahomes mainly because of his history of winning. He and even this year, I know we kind of just started our bye weeks, and his big players are the Chiefs, and they're on this bye this week, but his team is still projected to be 133. I mean, that's still ridiculous. His
It's
best players
insane.
are off, and his team is still projected to be one of the top leading scoring teams in our league. Now, Russell is 138. He's got a fantastic team. His record probably isn't completely accurate for his team, and I'm really hoping that his team gets injured a little bit because he's going to be a really hard team to beat in the playoffs if they're all firing on the same cylinder. So I would take one from me, one from Holmes because of the history that we've seen, and he still has a very good record in our league. Now, granted, I think he's got some scheduling benefits this year with his current record, but he's the reigning champion, trying to make that run back for busting the league. So going back to back, and he's a solid team. So it's going to be the matchup of the week, honestly. But moving on, Zeke and Destroy and my Nut Zach Ertz. So Trevor's team playing your team, and your team is still projected pretty good going through a fire sale. So yeah, you're definitely low and extremely low for our league because of how small our league is. But you know, you could probably hit 80. You could even crack 100 with these guys. And if Zeke and Destroy has a really bad week, you could easily beat them.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it like last week. A lot of Zeke and Destroy relies on Cooper Cup. So if Cooper Cup has a bad week, then his other guys have to step up. Obviously, this week is not a concern. But yeah, moving forward, hopefully there's more depth there. Yeah, I think these projected leaders is off because I obviously don't have three quarterbacks on my on my starting lineup. So, but I mean, gosh, anytime I start Tannehill, he just cracks the bed. It's like I 1 week I started Tannehill, he gave me 0.88 points. So,
Did
anyways,
you pick Tannehill off the waiver wire?
uh,
I think you did because I think I dropped him because he was on my team last year.
right. So I've had like 6 or 7 quarterbacks for about a year or two now, ever since we opened up that OP slot. So yeah, even after dropping Herbert and Dak, I still have Garoppolo, Tannehill, Davis Mills, Mac Jones. I can't remember who else. I know I've had
Yeah.
Darnold during the season, but I dropped him obviously.
So I'm guessing. So we haven't actually called which team we're calling for this week. But what's your pick?
Like I mentioned, Zeke and Destroy does have nothing to worry about with me. I'm gonna scour the waiver wire a little bit more this week before the games, see if I can, you know, find any hidden treasure there. But But yeah, for the most part, Trevor has a pretty good head-to-head record against my Nut Zach Ertz. So I don't see any upsets happening this week.
Gotcha. Taking Zeke and Destroy. I'm going to lean on Zeke and Destroy for this matchup too. Again, I do think it is possible that you can take him down, mainly because if your guys kind of hit it this week and his guys don't, you're not that far away from each other's projected totals. That, if you can get up to the 100 and he, has a lower scoring week, because we have seen, Ron Burgundy's team score 80 points. And we've had some other teams score some low points, and they had fully staffed teams that just didn't hit for some reason together. So I don't think you're out of the woods with competing in the league, but you did go through a fire sale and there was a purpose behind it. But you can still be a thorn in a lot of team sides going forward. Cool. Well, Andrew, it's been great having you on the show today. Excited for the future. Your team is going to be very interesting, coming out these next couple drafts. And I think what you were able to do is you were able to give yourself more options with your fire sale. Now, granted, you kind of have to take a little bit of a back seat, but you have a strategy going forward, which is exciting. And you're able to still enjoy the game while offering this new way to strategize and build your team for the future.
Yeah. Again, I think, you asked me the question, like, is it worth it? I don't know yet. And it will be an interesting case study for our league just to see, is it a dumb idea? Is it a good idea? We'll see in the end. Parting words, James Robinson's available, Garrett, now that Breece Hall's down.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
I'm just kidding, but I'm kind of not. So, but yeah. Anyways,
so it's so funny. Every time I feel like I do like a big trade with somebody, like I have a massive injury that hits my team. Last time I did that big trade, so like that when I got that first round pick for trading Darren Waller to not Dallin, but to Spencer. Mm-hmm. I was really targeting a couple players, and one of the players I was targeting was Gus Edwards, because J.K. Dobbins had recently torn his ACL, and Gus was the up running back for the Ravens. And the day after I made that trade happen, Gus tore his ACL too. And we just did a fire sale we just traded for Mark Andrews and AJ Brown. And the next day, Mark Andrews has a questionable for the week on him. And Breece Hall tears his ACL this Sunday, which is on my team. Killer. But luckily for me, one of the biggest reasons I want to do that trade with you is because I wanted depth. Because if I didn't make that trade with you, me sustaining Breece Hall and Mike Williams getting injured this last week would have been a lot harder to really target going after Dallin and Spencer for the title. And now with Ryan, Spencer, and even Matt's team, there's four teams, including my team, and Brooksby's got a good team, can easily go after the playoffs. It's a hard year this year, and I think I was easily contemplating a fire sale this year myself, and probably would have if you didn't do it the week before, and I just sustained those injuries on my team. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to come down the wire, and it's going to be a really big bummer because I just sold away my future a little bit. If I can't swing that championship this year.
You're gonna show everyone where you're gonna put your trophy. Is it that shelf back behind you over your right shoulder?
Oh, you will. When I bring the trophy home, you will easily see it in every video I make.
Oh, please, other 6 teams prevent Garrett from winning.
Well, again, Andrew, it's been a pleasure having you on the show this week, and looking forward to our next guest next week.
And who is that?
To be announced.
Do you know who it is? How about that?
I have some names in mind, but I haven't finalized who I want to send the invite out to first.
Okay. All right. We'll have to tune in next week and see who they are.